Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Movie Pop, and today we're finally talking about Avengers Endgame. This is the culmination of a film that delivers on the epic conclusion of the MCU founding fathers Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. It delivers an ending that was carefully constructed by Marvel chief Kevin Feige, who left an intricate trail of clues over the past 22 films and 11 years that we've been watching all these characters on screen. I'm joined by my co-host Lawrence Hamber today. Lawrence.
Hey guys, I'm Lawrence. I'm joining you guys from on the road. Obviously, as you can see, my background's changed. I'm traveling right now, so glad I could join you, DJ.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here and while on vacation.
No problem.
We're finally here to talk about the non-spoiler review for Avengers Endgame, which Lawrence, fortunately enough, just finished watching. I've seen it 2 times myself. So let's start this bad boy going off let's begin with a couple things first. The story of the film, followed by the action and CGI, and then we can move into our pros and cons. Of course, all non-spoilers for anybody watching now. Lawrence, what were your general impressions of this film in regards to the story, since you just saw this movie?
There's a lot to unravel. So there's a lot to talk about. I liked it, and I think the movie it's a very well done finale. I think this is something that if you're a fan, if you're even just a slight fan of Marvel, like everyone should probably see this. You know, the group I was with was kind of a mix of people who have a lot of interest in Marvel and people who don't. And I think everybody walked out enjoying it. I thought there's a lot of good stuff in this film. So it's just I'm trying not to go too much into detail. You know, we don't want to spoil anything. So
Right.
I thought it was very good, but there's definitely a lot to unpack here. Yeah, I want to hear some of your thoughts. What do you think?
The story I thought was fantastic. The one thing I can say about this movie was fan fucking service. Like
Definitely.
through to a T, and they stuck the landing at the end. I felt like definitely this is a movie for the fans, and I feel like
I feel like it's both. I feel like it's so. Like I said, I was with a group of people who saw a lot. Like I've seen every single movie, and some people who didn't.
Right.
And I feel like some of even if you would miss some of the movies, which I don't think my girlfriend's seen all of them, and she still enjoyed. She loved the movie. Actually, she said she loved it. And there's some stuff that she didn't really understand. I had to explain to her. But yeah, I feel like everyone can enjoy this movie, and if you're a fan, you're gonna love it even more. Sorry, I didn't mean to kind of cut you off there.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like that's the case for sure. And Marvel's been very deft about making sure they have that nice balance of fan service, while also making sure they lay the groundwork for film or for fans who are coming into the series of films late. So they'll either like have something, some sort of callback in the film you're watching, to a callback for previous films that would make a current story make more sense. And they definitely did that in this case. Excuse me, Siri. Wow, Siri, shut the fuck up.
Siri, you're joining us today. Oh, so nice to have you.
But I mean, this film definitely, like, if there was fan service in the past films, this film took it to like the umpteenth level. To the
max. I don't think there's a movie that you can even compare that's done on this scale. It's really unprecedented. It's pretty amazing.
Totally.
It was such a feat to pull off.
Yeah. And I just really feel like that, you can watch this film without having watched any other Marvel film before. Obviously, you'd be doing
a little lost.
You'd be a little lost. You'd be doing yourself a huge disservice. But if you follow these films all the way through, or at least, well enough, coming up to this point to watch this final entry into the Infinity Saga, I feel like it really is going to explode your experience of this film, because there are so many wonderful callbacks to all these films, and it really just drives the narrative. It drives the emotional impact of these scenes when they drop, and really just makes for a full, complete cinematic experience that really I cannot recall has ever been committed to film before.
Me too. It really, throughout the whole film, I think there were plenty of scenes where I personally laughed. I didn't really cry because
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm just not really like that kind of person. But there were people in the theater that
I
were.
wanted to cry though, man.
They're crying. I know. It has all the emotions covered. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. There's great action. It's got it all. So.
Yeah. And I heard so many times, with the reviews of this film, like I leapt up and shouted, I cried, I was sad, I was happy, all these things. I wanted to have that whirlwind of emotions, especially with the crying, because I did find myself tearing up in Infinity War with Peter Parker, being dusted. That definitely hit me in the feels. This time though, not so much. I only started crying on my second viewing because I heard other people crying. I'm like, oh wow, this is really hitting them. Better turn the feels on here.
I feel like the first one was more of a tearjerker. There's definitely some scenes in this one, but I guess it just depends on what kind of person you are, really.
Okay, so let's move into the pros here. We're about halfway through our time. This is definitely the final thread for Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Fantastically wrapped up. I feel like and of course I'm talking about the
definitely
pros of the film, right?
Very good wrap up, yeah. Very good. Yeah. Very, very good homage to the fans to kind of show, like, everything that has happened. It's a great culmination of all that. I think it did a wonderful job. It's a hard thing to do, like we said earlier. Good job.
Yeah. Hats off to Kevin Feige and the Russo brothers who directed this film.
Yeah.
Let's move into, I've got some 3 pros that I want to cover. The first of which is the pacing of the film. I heard a lot of complaints about the first and second act of this film being very slow for some people. For me,
I kind of agree with that.
And very interesting, because you told me this when we were discussing our thoughts on the film before we started shooting. For me, personally, the finale, the third act of this film is bombastic. It is a cinematic tour de force. Don't get me wrong. I loved it. But I definitely was more engaged and more entertained by the first 2 acts of the film. The third act I felt like was just, for lack of a better word, CGI crap fest, action nonsense. Yeah. Amazing as it was.
Sure. Let me touch on those points real quick. I don't want to take up, I'm going to take like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I think it's more that there's so many characters they have to go over, and it kind of feels like the first part of the movie is kind of elongated because each character has to have a point. So it makes it very long, and I can see, that's, I think, one of the things that bothered me is that it just feels like very long, And I don't blame them.
The third act of the film felt long to you?
No. The first 2 acts feels very long because they have to include all the characters, and I feel like that's why it feels very elongated. That's all.
You didn't care about, like, well, what the hell happened? What the hell's going on with these people?
It just feels like there's a lot of stuff that happens before the story really gets going. That's all.
It felt slow to you. Like, were you like kind of checking?
Yeah, because it's like the first 2 hours of the movie. No, the whole movie had me on the edge of my seat. But I think it really kind of starts with the first part, and the story kind of starts to pick up. But it takes a while for it to pick up. And I can't say I was really looking at my watch. I was still engaged. But I think it's just the ending is so much larger that looking back, you're like, wow, that was really slow.
Interesting.
That's all.
Interesting. Hey, we all have valid opinions. Unfortunately, you can't count me in that camp. I felt like the first 2 hours of the film were the absolute best. The comedy absolutely hit throughout those first 2 acts, especially, without revealing anything. And it's funny because for a film that's not really labeled as a comedy film, I felt like this did a lot more comedy and a lot better comedy than most comedy films.
Yeah, one character in particular was pretty comedic.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Some people actually felt let down by that. Actually, that this character
was. I kind of was too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
We'll talk about that more in our spoiler review.
For sure. Yeah. I will say I thought it was a nice touch because we've seen this character who is more or less the butt of a joke throughout the whole runtime of the film. We get to see him in a different light, and he gets to express his acting and comedic chops in a way we've never really seen him before.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of covered the action. Those were all my pros. I do have 2 cons.
I love the action.
Yeah?
I love the action.
Okay.
Just going to throw that out there. I thought, I'm an action guy. Yeah. I thought the action was very well done. That was great.
I figured as much that you would be pleased with the end. So.
Yeah, it's very, very pleasing.
Any other pros for you?
Like I said earlier, it's hats off to the directors for just including. It's such a feat to include so many characters and make them all relevant. Yeah. That was tough, and they pulled it off.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I heard Captain Marvel had like minor time, but I thought she had, decent time in the film.
And that's
So,
actually that's a pro. I'm not going to say how she was
yeah.
utilized, but she was utilized
Yeah.
perfectly, and it's true.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah, I
is.
think so too.
She's a lot better in this film than she was in her own film, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Hmm.
Okay, so the cons of the film. For me, let's say the MacGuffin of this film, I was questioning the feasibility in terms of like how they arrived at discovering this MacGuffin and implementing it. I felt like there were a lot of plot holes in there I could pick through, and I'm not sure if that's a
I agree.
consequence because of like the logic they laid down for how this MacGuffin works, or because
Hmm.
they did a poor job, either intentionally or not intentionally so, in describing how this MacGuffin works. But I definitely was lost throughout the film in terms of trying to figure it out on my first, and then a little less so on my second, but still confused on my second viewing. And at that point, I'm just like, yeah, forget about it. Like
Yeah,
whatever,
no,
it's
I
not that
agree. I
bad.
feel like in the first like 15 minutes of the movie, I was kind of like, so where's this story going? And then I'm like, okay, I kind of get it now. And then it kind of, yeah, I just kind of, here it is, I'm like, oh, okay, all
Right?
right,
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I've got the
yeah,
MacGuffin here. Let's go to
yeah, yeah.
town.
There it is.
Like,
Yeah,
oh, okay, that was quick. Okay,
yeah.
Ray, getting your force powers all super quick and just being a badass with it.
I just got him. That's how, yeah. Just ta-da.
And then, would this be a spoiler or not? Oh, I will say this, and not in a spoiler way. Whether or not Thanos is or isn't defeated in the final act of the film, I can say without spoiling that the way they approached trying to defeat Thanos, I felt like was nowhere near as close as clever as how they captured him in Infinity War. That to me was super clever screenwriting, and the way they deployed capturing Thanos in Infinity War, I was just like, wow, like they utilized every character's strengths perfectly.
Like powers, yeah.
Yeah, and it just made sense. This time, their approach to whether or not they defeat him, their plan, I felt like was just there was no plan
They're winging it.
essentially. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's kind of like
I feel like, yeah, I feel like that there was a lot of I had a lot of questions I was asking my friends at the end of the film, just about yeah, like just the final scene, and there was a little bit of confusion there, which we'll talk about later. I don't want to get into spoiler territory.
no worries, no
But
worries.
yeah,
Well, that's all
yeah.
right.
So
Okay, well we'll wrap this bad boy up here, and we'll get into our spoiler review shortly uploaded after this non-spoiler review. So hey guys, thank you so much for tuning into Movie Pop and finding out
wait,
what's popping in
sorry.
cinema.
One more thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We gotta give our final ratings. What do you
Oh
thought the
yeah,
movie?
of course, of
Yeah.
course, yeah. I was about to say what the f, man, but ratings, yeah, 5 out of 5 for me, without a doubt. And you're not going to convince me
Solid
otherwise,
five,
Lawrence.
huh? Yeah, I think if there's any movie I'm gonna give a solid 5 out of 5 this year, it's gonna have to be this one. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's very deserving of a 5 out of 5. I always try to pull DJ back when he gives movies ones or fives, but it's hard to think that there's gonna be another movie that can top this one this
Yeah,
year.
yeah. If
It's
not,
just there's too much that this is part of. It's become like it's a journey now, and this
yeah,
is the finale to that journey, and they lived up to it. I got to give them credit where credit is due. It's a 5 out of 5 for me.
right, right, yeah. Well, and with that being said, that is the conclusion of our non-spoiler review here at Movie Pop. So thank you again, guys, for tuning in. Please make sure to finding us on Instagram at Movie Pop Official, on Facebook at Movie Pop, on Minds at Movie Pop, and our website, of course, moviepop.org.
And you guys know the drill. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that good stuff. It helps us a lot. Tell us how much you hate this video, how much you like this video, anything. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.